the founder of Sierra Delta, joins us this morning. I've actually kind of unpacked his bio before. BJ Ganem is founder of Sierra Delta and a great friend of the show. It welcomes all military veterans. They provide all veterans, all military veterans, with an engaged, strength based, veteran led community of support, education, and grants. All of it focused on helping our military veterans access professional dog training support in our Life Buddy program and opportunities to continue to be of service in their Life Force programs. They are a registered 501c3, too legit to quit, and they rely exclusively on in-kind donations and sales campaigns like their upcoming True Blue campaign provided by Blue Buffalo Pet Food, and that will start September 1st at Walmart. They have they provide over 100 Life Buddy training grants. We'll talk about the particulars of this, but I just want to say good morning to my good friend, BJ, who has wrapped up some great fundraising activities with our friend Brad Bentley. BJ, good morning. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm great. You want my bad joke? Since you were
Oh,
talking about bad jokes
let it
before.
rip. Here we go.
All right. How to get a Kleenex to dance?
How do you get a Kleenex to dance?
You put a little boogie in it.
Love it. I love it. I love it, man. I got to tell you, I got an 8-year-old nephew named Gustavo who is just going to literally pee himself when he hears that joke.
Exactly.
I
That's
am
my
delighted.
that's my kid joke. That's the one that I always tell the kids.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so
No,
I unpacked Sierra Delta, but let's just unpack what's been going on, not just with Sierra Delta, but with you on the move, man.
yeah, just I'm just trying to enjoy this life. I'm going to turn 50 next year, and turning 30, turning 40 was not a big deal. 50 is a little different, and it's kind of forced me to pause and just realize, like, hey, we need to slow down and really, really enjoy this journey. And so I've been kind of shifting into that. Me, I'm always really pushing hard to help uh, bring back the agency to the veterans, right? Instead of everybody focusing on our disabilities, let's focus on our strengths that we have. But really just trying to sit back and just watch it all unfurl. And I know that things are crazy, but there's never been a better time to be alive than right now.
I kind of love that perspective too. BJ, I'm going to make you do short order of this because I know you've unpacked this a million and one times. We're on a new platform. We're on a whole bunch of platforms right now. And I don't feel like I can do it justice. Can you give our
Okay.
friends out there a little bit of your story that kind of contextualizes everything you do? Because for you are a man who moves, and that is a commitment that you have made to living a purpose-driven life, but also putting your money where your mouth is because you really are a hand up, not hand out kind of guy. You are not a bellyacher or a griper or a what's in it for me kind of fella. You and I have talked about this at length about the idea of being a fully minted citizen of the United States first and foremost. Can you kind of talk about who you are and where you come from?
Sure. I mean, I grew up in Savannah, Georgia. My family, third generation Lebanese immigrants that came over, and our family business is still there in Savannah, Georgia, on Havisham and Gaston. It's called Johnny Ganem's. It's package store is what we call them back in Savannah, but it's liquor, wine, catering, anything around a party. So I grew up around, celebrating things. And when I graduated high school, I went on to college for 1 year until I was politely asked to not come back after posting a 1.3 GPA. And really, all I wanted to do was just travel the world and fight. And so the only people advertising that was the United States Marine Corps. So I joined on a whim, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. So that was 96. I'd go in, become a Marine Corps infantryman, serve on active duty until 2000. This was when we were drawing down, and as an infantryman in active duty, we're running around the woods yelling "bang bang" at each other. And so I was a little disenfranchised, but I loved the camaraderie. I loved the brotherhood of the Marine Corps. So I got out, but stayed in the Ready Reserves. Took a job with Kraft Foods, started selling cookies and crackers, and climbing that corporate ladder. But 1 week in a month, 2 weeks out of the year, and anytime I could get on a school slot, I was a Marine again. And all that changed in 2001. Towers go down. We get put on alert, and we go to Iraq in 2004 to serve in Operation Iraqi Freedom, which we all know is, a little bit murky on why we went in, but I can tell you that the men that I serve with, we represented this country well while we were over there in a difficult situation. And I was injured on Thanksgiving night of 2004, which caused the amputation of my lower left leg below the knee and ended my Marine Corps career. And that was a really hard pill to swallow. And it took me a little while to get my footing again. And one thing is everybody was so receptive, so supportive of me, and there was, and still are. It's just, it's almost, it's so amazing. Sometimes it's hard to manage, but in those early days, it was even harder to manage. Obviously, with the amount of head injuries that I had, being exposed to IEDs, being hit by a car, even um, when you're in that depressive state and you have brain injuries to boot, it makes it really hard to kind of see what's real, to feel what's real. And I was in the midst of all that depression, anxiety. I was uncomfortable with the amount of how many people wanted to help me, but nobody wanted to help the other 200 Marines that were with me. And just trying to figure out, like, I'm no longer a Marine. What does this mean? Am I, missing a percentage of my body? What does that make me as a man? And I was going through a bad divorce, a bankruptcy, a DUI, like all the stereotypical things that we hear about in this veteran community. And in that moment of depression, I could rationalize everything away. I thought my kids would be better off without me. I thought all my family and friends would be better off without me. It was an old English bulldog that I bought on my first convalescent leave from Walter Reed that helped me see my way through that depression, because he was the one thing I couldn't rationalize away. He had no special talents, no special breeding, no special training. He was just a gruff bulldog that could get slobber into places you thought was physically impossible to get slobber into, and clear a room with his farts. But he was always there, and he needed me as much as I needed him. So if I quit, he would have ended up in a shelter and probably been euthanized like the other 800,000 healthy, trainable, and adoptable dogs we kill every year in this country. And so just that unconditional love that dogs give humans and have been giving humans for 35,000 years was enough for me to pull my own head out of my ass, start putting one foot in front of the other, and living what I call a life on the good foot, whether it's my foot that's carbon fiber and steel given me by science, or my foot that's flesh and blood given me by God. Whichever foot I'm going forward on, I was going to make do. I was going to figure out how to improvise, adapt, and overcome and love this life. And that all came from that unconditional love of a dog, which was the inspiration for me to start Sierra Delta. And Sierra Delta stands for service and dogs. When I look at the communities and I look at this nation, like, I know everybody loves our veterans, but all of the services, to include the VA, to include all the nonprofits, are all predicated on us either being broke or broken. The VA only services 30% of the men and women that ever served, and they don't do a very good job of it. All of our nonprofits, the majority of them, are focused on only post 9/11 wounded, ill, and injured. But what happened to the social contract? We need to redefine those terms and conditions of what does it mean to have a small portion of your society raise their hand and be willing to go into unpopular wars, go into these places that are full of strife and misery and combat. What is it that we're gonna? What is the one thing that we can promise them when they come back to this country? And so what I thought was, let's just make sure that every single person who ever put on that uniform, whether they served before 9/11 or after, whether they saw combat or not, whether they were injured or not, can have access to reasonable and sustainable resources to help them develop the relationship with a dog through professional training, so that they could have that unconditional love when they need it. 99% of the veterans do not need a service dog, an ADA medical assistance service dog. And those dogs do provide something, but it's a fraction of the percentage. What the majority of us needs is a teammate. We miss being on a team, and this is what Sierra Delta is trying to do. We're trying to help that all veterans can get access to a professional trainer in their area to train to their individual needs and lifestyle based on the capacity of the dog that they have. So that means that we have sport dogs. We have people doing dock diving and agility course running, and we have people doing scent detection. A lot of people just want a meat and potatoes, good family dog. And yes, some want service dogs, and they're able to get there within the Life Buddy program provided by Sierra Delta. But more importantly, let's just try to bring everybody together around the one thing that I think this country still agrees on. We all love dogs. 68% of American households have a dog in it. Dogs and humans have been working together for 35,000 years. Doesn't matter what your politics are, what your religions are, what it doesn't matter. Most humans love dogs. And so let's build a strength-based community around that supports our veterans. That is what Sierra Delta does.
By the way, like I said, the next time you come on, I won't make you unpack all of that again. But I feel like as we move to new platforms, as people who didn't get a chance to hear us on the old platform, I wanted to make sure people got a sense of that as well. And you go a lot of places. I want to make one really quick comment before we talk about the events in Nantucket and a whole bunch of other groovy stuff, also involving my co-host in the second half of the show, Lindsay Lawler. It's important to remember, too, that so much of when we talk about traumatic brain injury, people have a very, very distinct vision of that. Sometimes it is simply piercing headaches on a regular basis and a lack of equilibrium. And people don't understand that simply having someone that loves you next to you, giving you a little comfort in those moments, can make all the difference. I keep thinking about that in regards to my friend and I. We just put down a dog, a 15-year-old Catahoula named Coco. It's heartbreaking for us both. But at the same time, I remember there were some really dark moments in my life when Coco would just stare at me, knowing that I was in pain, and I could look over there and see that unconditional love pouring. And as you say, we're not talking service dogs here. We're talking about simply I want somebody in my life to take the journey with me who makes no judgment on me, but is simply there to provide sometimes actual equilibrium and a lot of the time simply emotional equilibrium. And that's kind of it. We just want to give people a chance who want to have a companion and who have served this country. It's a small price to pay for those men and women. Fair?
Absolutely fair. And you summed it up. I mean, trauma, when I talk about trauma, I always tell people to look at your hands, look at your neighbor's hands. They all look similar, right?
Mhm.
But we all have these fingerprints that have never been replicated in the entire human history. And that is trauma too. We could be in the same spot and a traumatic event happens right in front of us. And everybody around there is going to have a different response. We can't put this on a conveyor belt. We need to meet the people where they're at. And we need to find the one thing that can at least help them find their own base and then allow them to be on their own journey. So what I tell the veterans, the Sierra Delta, this Life Buddy program, there's no destination. It's not like you're going to get to a level of training and that's it. Training is continuous. And what they start to realize, this is a journey with your dog. It helps you form some healthy routines as well. That's good for you and your dog, but it also just gives you that sense of this dog needs me, I need this dog, that purpose, and it builds a bridge to everybody else. The civilians might not understand what we did in the military, but I think they can understand the love and loyalty that a dog provides. And if we can build a community around that, I think we can spread a lot more healing even beyond the veteran community.
I have a couple of great comments for you. Our good friend Tom Bray says, as a shout out, he was an Army guy. He says, not a whim, but similar. He ended up in the Army because it wasn't the Navy. His dad was in the Navy. Um, Tom also gives you a shout out saying he loves the term social contract. If we send them to fight for us, popular or unpopular, we as a society have a responsibility to them. Our good friend Trucker Boson says, I have two dogs. I can't imagine not having them around. Now, I want you to brace yourself, BJ, because you had a bad joke. They've got some bad jokes, too.
Great.
This is Tom's. Horse walks into a bar and the bartender says, "Why the long face?" Sorry, I've been waiting to do that for a while.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, Trucker Boaston also writes, "It's a new wine. It's named after Casper. It's a nice little spirit, but it's got no body." I, I like that a great deal. Okay, so you just wrapped up Nantucket. Pledges for Pups, but I want you to talk about why is it always in Nantucket?
Sierra Delta was founded in Nantucket. So back in 2012, my good friend Jim Baisley, who had helped me through a very difficult situation with an employer, asked me to come speak to this group called Holidays for Heroes. And this group, Holidays for Heroes, was bringing military families, military veterans and their families from the hospitals in Walter Reed and Bethesda to Nantucket for a week-long respite. And so I helped with that. At the time, I was working for the Semper Fi Fund, another great 501c3 organization. And so I was already working with many of these men and women that had these injuries. And so I was able to help curate the list and get people over there and just really enjoyed what they were doing. Nantucket's unlike any other place I've been to. It's very special, beautiful. And I was doing a lot of talking. As you know, I can suck the air out of any room. And
Well, that's why that's why they paired you with me. They figured that's what Brad Bentley figured. They said, well, BJ's going
yeah,
to suck the air out of the room. Who can actually take the oxygen back? Oh, we'll put him together with Jimmy Mack. Go on though.
there we go. That's right. So I was talking about how many of the negative outcomes we're seeing in the veteran community has to do with how we're delivering services to them. And I kept going back to the story about Dozer and talking about like even the service dog thing. It seems like we're putting, we're not able to get enough. You add up everybody that says they're providing service dogs to veterans, it only equals about 800 to 1,000 a year. And there's only 18 million vets in this country, and the average age is 68.7 years old. So we're doing it wrong. And the great thing about Nantucket is one of the biggest places with the highest concentration of wealth. And Tom McCann was the one that founded Holidays for Heroes, and he was a great networker, knew everybody, introduced me to the Bishop family and Bill Bishop, the founder of Blue Buffalo. Um, I told him my thoughts, and he said, yes, you need to start an organization, and we're going to help you. So the island of Nantucket is who gave me the courage and the resources needed to start Sierra Delta. And when we started it out, we were trying to help more veterans get access to service dogs. So we worked with all these ADA organizations. President Bush, who painted me in the Portraits of Courage, his nickname for me is Belushi. And when he heard I was doing this, he's like,
By the way, if
Belushi, I
you
can get
see
five.
BJ, you'll get the reference. But go ahead, keep going.
Sure. He told me, he's like, Belushi, I can give $5 million to any one of these dog organizations and it won't move the needle. And in 2 years, we gave away $2.3 million. And he was 100% right. Not a single one of those organizations even did one more dog. And it's because they can't. They're at capacity. That's why there's 5 and 6 year wait list. So in 2018, I was diagnosed with lymphoma and had to go through chemo and radiation. And so I was locked in a room in the quarantine before it was cool to be quarantined. And Dozer had just died a month before I got that diagnosis. So he was on my mind a lot. And I was just thinking about how all the vets I know, I mean, in my career as a veteran advocate, I've worked with over 25,000 vets and from all eras and all different types of service types. And the most common story I hear is a dog that they had. And so in that moment is when I realized that we need to open this up to all vets. We need to figure out how we can properly thank these men and women for their service. And like I said, with the amount of dogs that we waste in this society and how easy it is to become a dog trainer. It's only 2 years to become an accredited dog trainer. And most of the time you need to train the person. And so the veterans are apt to receive training and give training. And so if we build that program specifically for them, we thought it could work. And so far it has been. It took us a little while to figure out the delivery mechanism, but right now we've already delivered over 100 grants in the first 6 months of 2025. And we have a goal to try to help 10,000 veterans annually go through professional dog training by 2030. And that means at a minimum, we'd have to raise $35 million a year. But look at all these other organizations. You got Wounded Warrior Project at $400 million a year, Folds of Honor, hundreds of millions of dollars a year. It's possible, and I think by transferring the agency from the organizations back to the individual veterans and recognizing that these are accomplished individuals. They've done something hard that most Americans can't do. So when we come out, even though we have injuries and we have bumps and bruises and challenges, we still have value and we're not a victim class. And that's what I'm really trying to fight against. Like, I love that everybody loves us and they want to help the most injured. but every single one of us raised their hand and did the job that was assigned to them. That is why no one in this world can mess with the United States of America, because the 2 million people that are on active and reserve every single year um, are better than any other 10 million man army out there.
Yeah,
It
and the best
doesn't matter.
support
We still have,
network
yeah,
and the best support network in the world, from the dogs that they've actually
yes,
raised before they went into the service, to the people that love them, to the women and the men
yes,
who support them at home, to the children who wait patiently without dads, without moms for long periods of time. I think it is so important what you're up to here, because it's a reminder these are your fellow citizens. These are not.
that's right.
It's like, and the fact is, look, I believe that there are people who are part of a warrior class, but there is no special. These aren't samurai. These aren't Teutonic Knights.
No,
These are people that have barbecues and go swimming and love their kids and go to Nantucket and write songs.
that's right.
I have to pivot on that
Exactly.
really quickly here. Pivot, because I want to bring up my friend Lindsay Lawler, who has a new show, We Should Write, and we really want to get your butt on there because you've got some experience with songwriting, do you not?
I do. A good friend of mine, Billy Dawson, out of Nashville, and Chris Bishop, um, from the Bishop family. We came together. We came up with this concept, the Warrior Life album. We invited other veterans to include the 16th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major Kent, Sergeant Major Erickson of the Army. So many other veterans participated, and there's 11 original songs written on the Warrior Life album. I helped write God and the Dog, and The American Way. 11, they're really great. You can find them on Spotify or iTunes or wherever you get your music. We haven't printed any CDs or records yet, but the finished project had Billy Dawson, a bunch of other songwriters, a lot of great musicians like David Lee Roth, drummer, I think Nine Inch Nails bassist, and just such a great collaboration, and a lot of other famous people that worked the boards. And when it was all done, these great people out of Nashville said, you know what, we want all the proceeds to go to Sierra Delta. So every time you spin that Warrior Life album on your streaming service, all the royalties come to Sierra Delta to help us provide more training grants to more veterans so that they can find a life buddy that works best for them.
Really quickly, by the way, you and I have been, I guess, embedded is the word for this, with Transition Trucking Driving for Excellence.
Yeah,
And it's been a big part of our lives. It's why we are friends. It's how we got a chance to finally get to meet after we had both been talked about forever and a day by our mutual friend.
sure.
Talk about what kind of changes we're going to be seeing this year before we kind of shuffle. We got about a minute and change here
Okay.
left, BJ. But give us a sense of what you and I are going to be seeing over the next couple of months as that ramps up, because there's a big announcement coming on that on Monday.
Yes, there is, and I'm excited for it. I mean, this transition trucking, I mean, I grew up watching Smokey and the Bandit and Convoy and BJ and the Bear. And when I first met FASTPORT, they were all really around trucking, but they really stretched out into logistics and cybersecurity. And this Veteran Ready Summit, big companies like Amazon and Walmart all come to DC in that first week of December to ensure that they're veteran ready so that we can hire more of these men and women and give them careers that are going to last, which is great. And they've really come a long way. I don't want to steal their thunder with the Monday announcement, but honestly, if you have a company and you want to hire veterans, you know, look to join that transit or that Veteran Ready Summit that's in DC, put on by FASTPORT. It is amazing. You're going to get some great knowledge and understand how to attract men and women who have served their country, who are not looking for handouts, who are looking to be on another team and bring those leadership skills, the ability to improvise, adapt, and overcome to your company. And there's not a better way to be veteran ready than to go to the Veteran Ready Summit in DC, put on by FASTPORT.
Yeah, basically the pitch is you help them to help your company. I mean, the fact of the matter is it's about understanding who it is arriving into
Yeah,
your company and maximizing their potential. It isn't about giving them special consideration. It's like
that's
really
right.
understanding who's showing up to make sure you have the network in place. BJ, as always, you and I went long. I don't care. I love having you. SierraDelta.com. We love you, brother. You can find them on Sierra Delta Dogs, on the Book of Face, the Gram of Insta, the X, formerly known as Twitter, and the LinkedIn. Thank you, BJ. I love you, man, and I'll see you soon.
Love you too, Jimmy Mack, and thank you so much for always having our back.
You got it, man. And by the way, he is right. We got your back over here. All of our veteran friends, all of our friends who support veterans, all of those veterans out there who are driving the trucks up and down the highway, we're here for you.